from all over the country, some from the NFL, some from not, some from D1AA, some from high school, and not all those people recruit the same kid. So you don't have the relationships necessary to really, you may have not known who those kids were in the portal. Part of being productive in the portal is you would have maybe recruited that kid out of high school or had a relationship with that kid, so you already knew everything about him. Last year, it was like, who are all these guys? I was in the South for so long, most of the kids hitting the portal, I didn't recruit because I was at, the Auburns and the Florida States. And my staff is a lot of small ball guys by design. I wanted ball coaches. So I think this year, now that we've been here, we've recruited, we now aren't just filling a roster, we're filling needs. We know what we need. We needed size, right, was number one. We needed speed, and we needed depth, right? So I think we assessed those needs. So last year was just like, put food on the table. This year is like, no, we have a starch, right? We need a vegetable, right? That's how I would say the difference is.
Chris Carton, Center for the Source. Kenny, you talked after the season about the need to fundraise and improve AC's overall situation. How do you feel about what you were able to accomplish this year compared to a year ago in that regard, and does it give you hope, optimism, confidence in the future?
Night and day. Night and day. The progress that we've made is absolutely incredible, since the last game of the year to now. It's absolutely incredible. And it's only getting better. It's not stopping. And I think we have to continue to push that. It sounds bad to say, but everybody's constantly getting better. Everybody. So to say, we've caught up with at least the back half of a league, or we're almost average in a league. Well, all of them got better. So we're still behind, but we're at least playing the game, right? We're just not where we need to be, but we're at least in the game. We're on the field. We just got to continue to grow. But I couldn't be more happy with the Valley, with the fans, with the support, with you guys' support of trying to educate the fans. It all matters. And I think everybody's kind of working together to get it to where we want it to go.
How do you think that will impact the roster?
Oh, better players. So that's simple. Better players.
Michelle?
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Public. Kenny, can you address the coaching changes, and in particular, offensive coordinator, what you think Marcus Arroyo brings and what we can expect to see?
Yeah, obviously Coach Arroyo has been a play caller in the NFL. I wanted somebody with some NFL experience. He's a quarterback guy. I like having coordinators that have been head coaches. So he's been a head coach. He built a program he really had 2 years to build it, and then he built a roster that won 10 games this last year, 9 games, whatever they won. And then when you call his references, when you call the guys like Todd Monken, when you call the guys like Dirk Cutter, which people know here, and they all give you the same name of the same guy, and he didn't even give you those names. You just call some people that you respect in the profession, and they all give you the same person. You're like, wow, and this person's 4 hours away, and he wants to be here. He has family who's from here, which most people don't know. He has relatives that live here. He has people who own restaurants in the Valley. It's just like that live here. So there was a lot of things that went into it, but I wanted a quarterback-driven guy. I wanted a guy who's very, very detailed in terms of route depths, a lot less freedom, a lot more structure, which is what I'm a little bit more comfortable with, and a guy who's not willing to get on somebody if the standard's not met. And I think he does all those things, and with his experience in the NFL and coaching quarterbacks and calling plays at that level, I think is a really good fit.
Jordan? Hey, Coach Jordan Ham, Sports 368. Is this offseason any different in regards to you're heading to a new league? Is there due diligence you're doing and scouting you're already doing on some of these new teams that maybe you're not playing year in, year out, but now will be moving forward?
Yeah, now, to be honest, that was kind of the plan last year. When I took the job, I kind of had a clue where the sport was going and where the league was going. Did I know that we were going to join this league? No. But did I read the tea leaves to a point where I already had that plan with the recruiting and the structure of where we were recruiting, style of play? The Big 12, I think the biggest difference between that league is there's obviously more people in the air raid family in that league on offense, and because of that, there's more people with the 3-3 stack monster defense, similar to what Oklahoma State went to last year. So I kind of had a plan for that. That was kind of why I put together the staff we did to begin with, was to transition into this league. So I would say there's not much difference other than we will have to do a lot more because we're not a 3-3 stack team. We're going to have to do a little bit more work in the offseason and fall camp, working versus an odd fives defense with an extra safety so our quarterbacks get visuals of it. And then on the contrary, we're going to have to give our defense more 10 personnel looks in open sets because they're going to see that. So those would be, I guess, the two differences is really what we're going to game plan for. And last year we did none of that because we were just worried about us. This year we will do more prepared game planning when we get to fall camp because we already have our defense in. Our offense, the verbiage isn't really changing, so they don't have to relearn a language. They're just learning ball.
Yeah, I know it was basically your offense the last year. You had a coordinator, but with Marcus, is it still the same? How do you blend kind of his thinking, what he likes to do with the base of what you guys do?
Yeah, when people say like the words "my offense," that means anything. Like it really does. It means we're going to run the swinging gate if we have to. It means, do I want to? No. But what that really means is we're going to adapt to our players. That's what I believe in. And I've been blessed to be and learn so many different ways to get it done that you got to be willing to adapt and not be scared to adapt. So what I would like to be is a run, play, action football team that plays fast with pro-style rules. Pro-style offense that plays fast. That's what you want to be. That's what I want to be. That's what I think the most productive offenses in college football right now are. You have to have the personnel to get there. That's what Coach Arroyo believes in, the exact same thing. Route depths, discipline in your route depths. Quarterback Mike pointing protections, Mike pointing runs, but finding a way to do that quickly and then being able to vary tempos and get into good calls at times. We couldn't do that last year because we weren't there yet as a program for a variety of reasons. We faced some obstacles that prevented us from doing that. So yes, me and Coach Arroyo see things very, very similar.
And with your roster being mostly complete, how do you feel about your ability to be able to do those things?
I feel very, very confident. You know, last year we struggled in the back end of games because of a lack of depth, and at the end of the year because of a lack of depth. I think we've solved those issues. So when people say, oh, why aren't you good in the second half? Well, we have no depth. You have a defensive tackle playing 57 snaps. No good defensive tackle can play 57 snaps at the same rate. You have to play 45 at your peak, right? So that's why we struggle at the end. Well, why do you get blown out of 3 games at the end of the year? Well, 1, you don't have the depth. You're not quite there yet. But 2, you're tired. You're worn on by the end of the year. And we practiced way harder, right, than they'd practiced in years past. So part of it's my fault, but you either eventually got to change and take the lumps early, or you've got to adapt over a slower period of time. I'd rather get hit on the chin in year 1 than have it linger longer. And that's what I told the guys this year is the challenge and the standard is going to be even higher. The same step we took this last year in terms of the standard and the effort is the exact same distance of a step. It's just a different level of what it looks like. And they're feeling it right now because, you know, we're struggling to get through stretch lines because of the standard that we're setting.
Blake, Colin, and Michelle.
Coach Blake, what are your thoughts on the aspect of depth on his freshman class and their ability to contribute early on in that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out in spring ball, to be honest. Anytime you're an earlier enrollee, you have a chance to play. In Montana, Warren was on pace to play. CJ Fight played significant minutes for us. Sean Nas showed up in the summer and played. If he would have been here in the winter, it would have been a whole different story. So I think we'll find out when the pads get on and when we start teaching football and we get to see guys process the game. So right now, I couldn't give you a good answer there. We'll find out when the pads get popping.
Tom.
Kenny, Colin, Harvard,
Sun Devils, nice.
I'm working for you now, man.
Filling it out.
You touched on it there briefly with personnel, but just kind of big picture. I mean, what's that year 1 to year 2 lead in your vision?
Well, I think it's what we kind of talked about. Year 1, we were trying to get something on the plate. That's where we were at. As a program, it was, we got to sign 40-something kids in a month. That is not easy to accomplish by any means, especially with a new staff, right? This year, it is over a period of time, we decided what needs we had, what problems and what issues, and we went and tried to solve the problems. So we were filling in the cracks rather than laying the cement, right? It's like it's like round 2 of painting a wall. Anybody can go paint the wall once, it ain't gonna be good. You better go paint it a second time and get all the lines cleaned up, and then the third time. And that's kind of how recruiting works, is you're not always gonna hit on a guy. You're gonna miss. Everybody's human, right? And when you paint and you miss, you gotta go back and paint over it. But if you look at what we're trying to do is we have one guy here who's gonna be here for a year. One guy. I mean, I don't know the exact number. I think we have 9 guys total graduating after this year, maybe 10 total on our roster, because the goal is year 2 to make a big jump, and then you retain your roster for year 3. And that was the whole goal and design of this, to create a culture necessary, to create a team, is these years 2 and 3, you have a lot of consistency throughout those years. And I think we've been able to do that by just understanding what we need and sending guys home. And there was a kid we had, I'm not going to name names or allude to anything, but his number 1 goal was, I just want to go to the league. Well, you don't care about winning? His answer was no. Just go home. Not a fit. Freak show. Wasn't a fit for us. Not a fit for us. Because it's about winning. And the sooner young men in our team realize you need other people to be successful. If I'm a star corner and I get no pass rush and I'm playing man, eventually you will be exposed. It doesn't look good for you. So you better push your brother in practice to be the best he can be, because if that guy gets to the quarterback, you look like a better cover guy, and vice versa. It is the ultimate team sport. And it's the ultimate sport that if you are selfish and if you think that you're the only thing necessary, you will eventually be exposed, because you're not going to be playing around people good enough to help you. You need everybody. And that's the vision for this year. That's the people we've brought in. It's people who want to be here, people who want to win. Win one. And if you win, you'll be like Washington and send 11 guys to the NFL this year. You'll be like TCU and send 9 guys like they did last year to the NFL. It's not an accident they won games and sent the most people to the NFL. If you win, people get drafted. If you lose, people don't get drafted. Pretty simple.
Sheldon, Julia.
And you had lost a couple guys to the portal, but for the most part, your roster is pretty much intact from last year. Can you talk about how, and obviously NIL helps, but how you went about trying to retain those players and make sure that you had a good balance to start with?
Yeah, I think I've never lied to them. So I think that matters. I think in this process, there's so many lies, there's so many false promises, there's so much BS that goes into it. The brutal truth, the brutal honesty, I think helps. I think the guys trust me when I say things are going to change, things are going to get better, where we're going. I think they trust that. And then, to be honest, who wants to leave Tempe, Arizona? Like, there's not many. Were you raising your hand to want to leave or to ask a question? Because not many people want to leave Tempe, Arizona, right? In the summertime, you want to leave. I would agree. But other than that, okay, who really wants to leave here? People move here to retire. So when a kid from somewhere in the country moves here, he trusts his coaching staff. He knows he's getting better. He knows the growth's going to be there. It's like, man, who has it better than me? And I think that's really what we can create here, is that environment of, man, why would I want to leave?
Julia.
Hey, Kenny. So Cole Martin, a huge name here in the Valley over the last few years. You bringing it back again. Just how important is it just for the future of this program to go after those big name guys?
100%. I mean, to me, the big name guys don't really matter. It's the guys I think are good football players, which he is. And he's a really good football player. He's the son of a coach that I coached with. You know, I coached with Demetrius Martin. Yee is what he likes to say for people who know him. He was a phenomenal football coach, phenomenal person. And just being around his dad a year at Oregon, you kind of know what his son's going to be like. He's going to be competitive. He's going to be fiery. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to be super, super smart and intelligent. And that's what he's always been. And so to bring him back, I think it's just a really good testament to all the kids here that, and like I sent out a tweet the other day about it, like, it's okay if you're an elite player, elite, like he is, and you don't want to come here out of high school, you can come back. You can come back and you can play here, because at the end of the day, when you move from here, you're going to want to come back. There's a part of you that wants to come back. That's part of it. I've done it. Lived all over the country. He shows it's okay to do it. And I think the more people like that come home, and the more people like that come home and have success, I think the more times eventually people won't have to go away to come back. Right? And I think that's the one advantage of the transfer portal is there's not much grass that's greener in Tempe, Arizona, right? Unless it's the summertime, right? Then everything's dead, right? You leave, the transfer portal allows you to realize that and come back. And all I want is the ability to get those elite players back on our roster if they do leave and come back. And then hopefully some of those elites skip that step, just come here right out of it.
Noah and Michael.
Hey, Kenny, Noah Fatale, some of the source. Having two well-recruited quarterbacks from the same class or in the same room is an interesting situation to be in. What do you feel Sam adds to that group?
Competitiveness. That's it. He has experience. He played as a true freshman, and he's competitive. And at the end of the day, we're going to bring in the best players for this football program at any position. I don't care if we have a sitting first-round draft pick. If there's another first-round draft pick at that position, I'm going to bring them in, beat them out. And the greatest players in any sport ever, they've never been scared of competition. If you ask any great at anything in any profession, which is business, anything you do in life, if you're scared of competition, there's no way you're going to be great. So I think the challenge to those two guys of, yeah, you can go somewhere else. If you think you're not going to compete, you're fooling yourselves. And if you don't think competition makes you better, you're fooling yourselves. You can be internally motivated all you want. When you get external motivation on top of your internal motivation, that's the combination that takes people to another level. And I think that was why we did it. We brought in the best guy. I evaluated every quarterback in the portal, and me and the staff, and we ranked them. We brought in the best guy we thought we could.
Michael, Jordan, and right back here.
And Coach, you talked about obviously last year. I mean, it was a sprint to get the team on the field for spring, new staff and new
Yeah.
systems. But you said you identified guys even last year that wanted to be here. What was, I hate to use the word easy, but was it a little bit easier getting to go more in depth this year in the transfer portal and the guys you brought in with obviously having that full year?
I think it was easier because our guys on our roster could recruit for us. So the guys on our team knew us. So if I said something to a prospect, I'd say, go ask anybody on our team. Find one person on our team where I've said something to him that hasn't happened. Find one. If you do, don't come here. Go for it. Find one. And that's what makes it easier, is when you treat your players the way they're supposed to be treated. You treat them with respect. You set a high standard, right? You don't let them get comfortable, but they know you care about them, and you treat them with their respect, and you're honest with them. The place recruits itself. And I think that's been what's made it easier. And I think next year it'll be easier because we'll have 80-something guys or 73 guys returning, 75 guys returning. Go find one of those guys. Find somebody who we've lied to. So if I tell you something in this room, it's going to happen. And I don't make promises in recruiting. And I think that's just the natural way, is your guys help you recruit because you've built trust with your own players.
In terms of remaining spots on the roster, how complete is this roster?
Yeah, it's complete. So there's two sides of signing kits. There's the mid-year enrollees. In mid-year enrollees, there's certain rules on when kids actually leave your roster count of the 85. So we have some roster spots being held by kids that aren't currently on the team. So you can't replace those numbers right now. You have to replace those numbers in the spring portal. We are pretty much full for this winter cycle in terms of enrollees that we can take right now, right? Couple ways right now that we can add, maybe 1 to 2. But in spring, we'll be able to bring in our high school kids. We'll probably be able to add, 3, 4, 5 more guys if needed. Hopefully it's not needed. But right now it's pretty full. But we're not at the 85 number for next year because we still have people that are carrying over based off the rules that I can't replace right now in the winter session.
Is that 3, 4, 5 number, is that the spring?
Yeah, I don't want to live in the spring portal. That's not what I want. We had to do that last year. We added like 40 guys in the spring portal with walk-ons or spring in general with walk-ons in high school and transfers. Hate that model. How do you build a culture? You bring guys in the winter, you build a team, you learn everybody's names, you come back and 33% of the guys are new. Holy cow. That's rough. That's not good. So I don't want to be the team that lives in the spring portal signing 20, 50, 25 guys. I want to be the team that the portal's real. You're going to have more roster transition than ever. You can't hide from that. But I want to bring those guys in the winter so our guys can feel each other, meet each other, get to know each other throughout all winter, all spring. And then we add a few, sprinkles in there, and the team gets to know 10 guys, 12 guys, 15 guys, like it used to be in the summer / post-spring cycle.
I think my question's along those lines. You said earlier that last year you had to fill the plate with need what you get. This year you need to get better players. So
I don't want to say get better players. I don't want to say that. I want to say get players at more specific spots. I just don't want a player to hear that and think that I ever said that. Sorry.
okay. Like how many specific players are you looking for?
For us, post-spring or right now? Like in the winter session?
Well, since I don't know the difference between the two, I guess in the long term, when it comes down to the season starting.
Okay. When the season's starting, we'll probably replace about 37, 38 total guys. So 120-man roster, we're replacing about 30% of the roster this year.
And where do you identify these people at?
Oh,
Like the high school level?
Both.
College level?
Good question. Both. So we've taken high school kids, we've taken JUCO kids, and we've taken transfers. So to me, it's not about, I think I've answered this once other before in terms of, I'm not as worried about high school versus transfer versus JUCO. I'm worried about where we need somebody in terms of roster balance. So if we have 25 seniors and we have no freshman class like they had 2 years ago here, we're still filling the freshman class that was void from 2 and 3 years ago. So we may have to take more guys in the portal that were 2-year guys and 3-year guys to fill that void. So I still want to have that old school roster balance that people used to have of, 4.5 classes with 18 to 20 people apiece to fill your 85. I would still like to get to that number roughly when it's all said and done. How you do that through portal, through high school, anybody can say, I'd love to sign high school. That's great to say. Until if 12 of your kids transfer, then you're like, well, I have to sign more 3-year transfer kids. So I would like to say I manage the numbers more by where we need a class than is this a high school kid or a transfer kid, because they're not the same. A 1-year transfer versus a true freshman like Cole Martin. Cole Martin's a freshman. He's not a transfer. He just came from the portal, if that makes any sense.
Jake? Just ask.
I didn't mean that disrespectfully. I just don't. People spin things. I don't ever want to hear a player think that I'm saying get a better player. I just think that's, you know what I mean. Okay.
Again, EJ Seymour, Central Source. The addition of Reynolds as the new defensive line coach, what was kind of the thought process behind that decision? Why did you think he was going to fulfill the role?
I mean, talk ball with him, talk football with him. And he runs a pass rush clinic with 2 of the best pass rushers in the history of the NFL every year for NFL football players. And nowadays in the portal, the hardest thing to sign out of high school is good D lineman. It's just the hardest thing on the West Coast to sign is really, really elite D linemen here. That's always been a challenge. So you may have to go to the portal to get some more D linemen. What do those guys want? Those guys that they're over the BS of recruiting, the salesmanship, they want the facts. Well, the fact is, professionals go to this dude in the offseason to get better in the National Football League. Why would you not come here and train with him for free? And he's an unbelievable football player or football coach. And he's a great person. And his son goes to school out here. So he wants to be here. So it was like, check, 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 like home run. And I think that was why we brought him here, is I can sell him. I can go through the list of names he's coached, go through what he does every offseason, and be like, yeah, come get coached here.
Chris, last question.
Yeah, you needed immediate help to replace some guys with holes, O-line, D-line, linebacker, elsewhere. What do you think about how you did in those areas and any specific players that stand out?
Yeah, so D-line, we needed depth badly. You know, it wore on us later in the year when teams ran the football. Teams that would run mid-zone would absolutely just wear on us physically. We needed depth, we need some size. I think we addressed both those things inside. I think, you know, we have depth, especially inside. It gives us the ability to move guys like Coop to play a little bit of edge and get a lighter body, not playing 3 technique every snap. Put them on the edge and get some more weight on the field in and out of times. At the linebacker position, we took a guy who played in the SEC, and we took the MVP of a football team at San Diego State, and we took a sophomore team captain from New Mexico State. So we took productive football players. And I think that was really the key at those 2 positions, where we needed to get more depth and get bigger up front. We addressed that. Just that for over kind of signing the D tackle spot so we could bump some of our edges, our inside guys out, keep Stansberry on the edge with his size. And then we said, okay, inside we need to get more depth. We signed 3 guys to really replace 1 in Trey Brown. So I think we did both of those things from an internal perspective. So when the game wears on us, right, we can rotate guys and not get tired. We can also practice. Because that's how you get better. You practice hitting. You run inside run and hit each other, tackle. And you can't do that if you're not deep. So this spring we'll be able to hit and tackle a lot. And we're going to hit and tackle a lot because that's how you win games.